Hey guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Quick note, I will be a guest today on We're Live, Pal, over at the Wrestling Observer's YouTube channel. So Denise Salcedo was nice enough to invite me over to talk, I assume, the graps, the wrestling. So that should be some fun if you want to see me represent Going In Raw over at in the Wrestling Observer's territory. I'm looking forward to that. Should be fun. I know it's live it is live at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern over at Wrestling Observer's YouTube channel. So, and then it's going to be on demand as well. So check that out.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Very exciting.
Hopefully not making an absolute ass out of myself, but no promises. It's usually a toss-up. It's a toss-up when I walk into somebody else's house, whether or not I make a fool of myself, Larson.
Well, I mean, it's good that we're going to get the Going In Raw brand out there.
Sure.
To those who,
for better or worse,
follow
I guess.
The Wrestling Observer himself. So that's something. So make an impression. That's all I got to say. Make an impression.
Make a name for yourself, in the
go.
words of Triple H and Pete Dunne.
Peter Dude, yes.
Speaking of Triple H and Pete Dunne, two NXT legends. Let's talk about NXT TakeOver. Like with this new 2.0 thing, we don't know if they're going to do takeovers. Now we might know. Larson, what's going on?
Yeah. So, you asked the question, will takeover events be a part of 2.0, NXT 2.0? We didn't know. Now we might know because of WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston. He tweeted out last night, quote, tentative date for the first NXT 2.0 takeover is Sunday, December 5th, according to multiple sources. Have asked but couldn't confirm if takeover will continue to be the brand name. Now, here's the deal. I feel like if they feel like the shows can be up to a takeover level, by all means use the name. If they feel like they're going to be different things, then go ahead and rebrand it. Because there's an expectation with the takeover name, and if they're unsure if they can meet that expectation, then go in a different direction.
Do your own thing.
Do your own thing. Be new.
Yeah. Be new. I don't know. You know what, man? Sometimes it's like, hey, maybe if you want to appeal to the talent, say, listen, we're going to call this thing TakeOver. You guys have large shoes to fill. There are expectations. So that just puts pressure on them. Go out there and kill it. It's still, 2.0 is still bolstered by, I'm assuming somehow we're going to get, number one, we're going to get a Ciampa match.
Yeah.
And as we saw with the Ciampa versus Braun Breaker match, Ciampa can lead anybody, with the training that Braun Breaker has to a pretty decent match, a match that tells a story. Is it Ciampa Gargano? No, it's not. And I understand that those expectations are there for NXT, for the TakeOver brand, but I don't think anybody going into this would expect a Gargano Ciampa. We all know that this is a learning process, and maybe I'm fine if they branded it TakeOver, even though there are those expectations for the brand. At the same time, I can understand they want these kids to grow. They want them to get better. What better way than to say, hey, listen, the name TakeOver is resting on you now. It's yours. Make something of it. Make it your own. Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with that. I understand that, there's lofty goals. TakeOver, it's if they want to showcase what they have, and people have sort of tuned out, oh, there's a new TakeOver, maybe they'll tune and be like, what the hell is this? Or maybe they'll tune and be like, hey, this is a cool direction. I think there's risk, there's reward.
Sometimes, there's the appeal, there's curiosity when there's something new. So, we get NXT 2.0. Oh, that's new. We saw the curiosity ratings went up for a spell. Mm-hmm. Now, if they are like, all right, we were taking over before, now we're whatever it is now, insert new name here, people will be like, oh, okay, this isn't TakeOver. This is something new.
Yeah. Go back to, call it, a couple people here in chat have some ideas. What if you just call it Arrival?
There you go.
Because that was that original takeover, or one of the original takeover names. I think the original was just takeover. But yeah, there was a rival, and there was rival. What if you go back to something like that? Yeah, there you go. Dodger says NXT Startover. That's a good one too. There's plenty of great joke names.
Yes.
But yeah, I say go with it. Everybody knows the situation. It's like when Fast and Furious went into space. Well, you're not just talking about street races anymore. Now it's a new thing. Now they're going into space.
It's been a while since they just did street races, though.
Yeah, it's been a more.
It's
of a
been
transition.
building to that point.
I have never seen a single movie.
I've
never seen one of those. I've
seen all the
movies.
trailers though, and I've heard what happens.
I think I've seen most of those, and I think I understand. In this latest one, they went to space, and that was the first time they did that.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like they've jumped a car from one skyscraper to another. They've been increasing. Yes, they've been increasing the believability of these stunts. So why not just?
It's not like the leap from Rocky 2 to 3, which was a quantum leap. I mean, that was massive. He looked like a different person. He all of a sudden was like Hulk Hogan was in there. The A-Team guy was in there. Man, yeah. Anyways, Raw was on last night. Raw happened.
It did happen.
What did you think of Raw last night? It was
all right. I mean,
good.
Here's one thing.
I'm acting like I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I know. They're like, hey, fill me in on Raw, please.
Raw?
Here's the thing.
So I watch it.
I don't know why. I know they got 3 hours to fill, but they got a lot of great wrestlers, so fill it with wrestling. So you're starting the show off with a really cool match. You get a Raw Women's title bout, and if you start the show with the match, you get the crowd vested right away.
Yeah.
Why they take 6 minutes to talk to have people talk rather than to start with the match? Because they've been talking. Bianca and Becky have been talking. We know the stakes. We know the dynamic. I don't really feel like anything new was added by having these interviews to start the show. Start with a really good match and get the crowd into it and the viewing audience into it.
Well, what you just said is key. We need something. Every talking segment should have something new added to the equation. We watch the show. We know who these people are. We know their standard lines. We know everything they say already.
Yeah. Unless
there is a new story point, don't start with that. I mean, they actually literally did start with a recap of Becky Bianca, I think.
They did, but I mean that was unnecessary too. Start with either the opening bell or start with entrances.
Yeah.
We don't need a recap.
Dude, my favorite is the opening bell.
Yeah.
That's my favorite when it's just they fade in. It's 5:00. We just watched the last 2 minutes of what a Chicago police show or something, whatever it is.
Whatever they have.
And then
before.
They fade in. Ding, ding, ding. The following contest. Whoa, we're getting a match now?
Not just a match, a title match.
Yeah, because later on when they had the Becky follow-up interview, guess what? They introduced something new.
Mm-hmm.
Liv Morgan stepped up. Oh, she's going to be the next guy, right? And so, yeah, I agree with you. That being said, killer opening match.
Yeah, it was really
just
good.
A killer opening match.
It was really good. Really, really good. Let
me ask you this really quick, because this is what I was thinking about. So, when they started this thing, and I hope I'd like to think I'm not being Charlie Brown in the football right now, but that's sort of become my role, and I'm fine with that because I'm an optimistic guy. I don't know. Is Becky Lynch, is her heel turn akin to Steve Austin's heel turn back in the day, in that she's doing entertaining stuff, but is it really going to service anybody? We thought heading into this at SummerSlam that it was going to be, she's turning heel to elevate Bianca, which makes sense. They went to the same brand. Makes sense that that's going to happen. This didn't feel like a blow off, but it felt like a blow off for now.
Totally.
It felt like goodbye for now until we go back around, because Survivor Series is coming up and you got to do the Becky versus Charlotte thing, which is going to be weird. And then maybe they're looking long game to make this go to WrestleMania. But there's always that thing that, if they end up souring on Bianca, I don't know why they have these two huge faces, right? The two biggest faces in the company, at the very least of the women's division. I mean, Becky arguably was the biggest face of the company. Bianca was getting there. why wouldn't you just split them up via brands? Because Sasha can be a very effective heel. Charlotte obviously is a very effective heel.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you have just brought Becky back in she's a face, keep her face, and then have her go to one of the shows and Bianca on the other show? And you've got the two biggest faces of the company. You don't need to have one of them go heel if everybody's just sort of waiting for her to go back to being face, because I feel like that's what the boos are so like hesitant. And I know she's trying to tell us that people are booing, but she's so damn entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is doing anybody any favors, is my point.
No, I understand that.
All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from our sponsor, Chime. So, Larson,
Yeah.
I'm sure you know the feeling. It's the end of the month and maybe you're a little tight on money, so you got to deal with the stress of your account balance running low. Then add on top of that the prospect of getting hit with that $33 overdraft fee if you happen to spend even just a little bit too much. It's really enough to make you pull the hair out of your head, man.
Yeah, I've been there. Overdraft fees have gotten out of control, Steve. In 2019, traditional banks took in $11 billion in overdraft fees, but we're here to tell you that Chime does things differently.
Yeah, Chime is an award-winning app and debit card that has saved its members more than $10 billion in overdraft fees thanks to Spot Me fee-free overdraft. Eligible members can overdraft up to $200 on debit card purchases and cash withdrawals with absolutely no fees.
Now you deserve to have financial peace of mind. Join the millions of Americans already loving Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and does not affect your credit score. Get started today at chime.com/raw. That's chime.com/raw.
Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Limits start at $20 and may be increased up to $200 by Chime. Chime member overdraft fee savings based on eligible members' use of Spot Me versus $33 average overdraft fee. Overdraft fee data based on bank rate, checking account survey, and CRL June 2020 overdraft fees report.
Before we get back to the show, let's get a word from our sponsor, Paint Your Life. Hey, Steve, I don't know if you noticed, but check it out.
Hey!
Look at that. Our portrait with Sid from Paint Your Life has made it on the wall. It's on the wall.
It's on the wall.
You know, and it really takes me back to our days at the office. I love it. I think it's great.
Well, Sid was never in our office, but hey, you know what, man? That looks great. I got to say, the artist really did a great job of capturing our essence and, of course, the essence of Sid.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's great how easy Paint Your Life makes getting custom-made, hand-painted art on your walls. All you got to do is send them a picture, and one of their world-class artists will hand-paint you a portrait at an affordable price. I mean, I got this awesome piece of art here, right here, made to remember some of the best times in Going in Raw history. It only took 3 weeks for it to get to my home and on my wall. And if you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone you love or for yourself, then you got to check out Paint Your Life.
At paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded. Guaranteed. And right now, as a limited time offer, get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. To get this special offer, text the word RAW to 64,000. That's RAW to 64,000. Text RAW to 64,000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter most.
The one thing that Becky hasn't done really is anything really dastardly. You know, in terms of her talk, yeah, she's a heel, kind of.
She's still really entertaining.
But she's entertaining, yeah. She hasn't really done anything that's going to generate, like, I feel like, real heat from the audience. You know, she's bent the rules to get a couple wins or a win like last night. But she really hasn't done anything like mean.
There's nothing vicious.
Nothing vicious. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
Which might not be in line. I mean, she has explained her character, and you can sort of read between the lines what they're getting at with her character. I don't think her character needs to be a vicious person, but if you're not going to go there, you have to understand that she's still going to be entertaining. The comedy stuff she does is great. I mean, it's kind of like Seth Rollins. I know people boo him, but that dude is entertaining.
Yeah, he is.
Well,
I think let me get this one point in real quick.
Please.
But I think you're going to be in a situation where you'll have a smattering of boos for Becky, but by and large, people will be entertained by her work because, like, she's 85% of what Becky Lynch was before she left. There's just a slight tweak, and maybe they think the subtle approach to the story is a more effective way of doing it. Because I have a hard time believing this is the last time we're going to see Becky and Bianca in the ring. I would expect them to have another match at WrestleMania probably, and Bianca wins there.
Yeah.
And maybe leading up to that, Becky will become more vicious. I don't know. But you run the problem though if that doesn't happen, where Becky is continues on with this current iteration of her character, where she's just kind of snide, she's snarky, she's arrogant, she's got a little bit of chip on her shoulder because the fans aren't fully behind her. But if that's the extent of it, and she continues to be entertaining, well, guess what? The fans are going to get behind her.
Yeah, another Charlie Brown football thing here. I do wonder if the plan from SummerSlam, if Vince was like, hey, you know what? Because obviously they love Bianca. And the thing that Bianca has going for her as well, besides everything else, is she is WWE homegrown. And right now especially, there's that push for like, hey, we want to have every moment captured on camera from the moment they step foot in the Performance Center so that when we do those retrospective packages, maybe leading up to WrestleMania. So I wonder if the idea was, hey, she beat Sasha night one WrestleMania. That was a huge moment. That was the match coming out of this last year's WrestleMania. Next year, she beats Becky in the main event, night one, or even, we all know Roman's going to be night two, but maybe Bianca main event's night two. Then you're making theoretically a massive star. But what you said is right. Becky's got in the lead up to that. Becky has to get vicious. That's something that Stone Cold, I don't remember ever actually doing. He was just really entertaining. And I know him and Triple H had the two-man power trip, but to me that always, even though Austin was the world champion there, that always felt like it was driven by Triple H because it was such a Triple H thing to do, get all the titles. So I don't know. I was thinking about that last night. I was drawing some parallels. There's been obvious parallels drawn, with the whole heel turn thing anyways. But yeah, I hope that this leads to something big.
Yeah.
And as of last night, I'm like, is it really actually leading anywhere big?
I would think that's the plan, is for something huge for Bianca, probably at Mania. That would be my expectation. But, we're still 5 months away from that.
Ways off from it. Yeah.
A lot can change. Vince, as we know, is fickle.
Yeah.
His whims lead him in various directions. So
you
got to hope that there is a plan in place. They see through on that plan.
Yeah.
And they have that huge moment for Bianca still.
Yeah.
And
like
story beats lead to it. Yeah.
Ronda's still out there, and we never did get her match with Becky. Yeah. And there's still 5 months for her to train to get back. And, so I don't know. Just a thought I had. Maggie here in chat says, honestly, I feel like last night was a missed opportunity. Bianca should have got that title. I say it, as you guys well know, as a huge Becky mark. Yeah, I was obviously pretty pessimistic. You and I in the preview were saying, okay, how are they going to wonk this finish, or are they going to do something in the opening match that'll lead to the main event?
Yeah.
Instead, the main event saw Big E take on Kevin Owens, who was making both of them during a promo segment, multiple insinuations about his impending contract expiring. And I firmly believe that dude is going to go straight to his friends over there in AEW. But I guess maybe if WWE makes some sort of last minute push, and Kevin Owens, he's always had a good relationship with WWE, like a really good relationship with WWE. But like, it does sort of seem at this point that he's done largely. We both think that there's a lot more he could have done, but within the context of understanding how WWE works, for the most part, I'm not so sure how much they'd really feature him much if he signed another 3-year deal.
I think what he would, if it was a featured role, it'd be this role. It would be in programs to put over the champions, and then maybe another mid-card title run. Maybe he'll form a tag team and get the tag belts and get the and be a triple or Grand Slam champ. Who knows? But unless someone could convince Vince to push Kevin Owens as a consistent main eventer.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of feels like what it's going to be,
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
if you're paid handsomely and you have your ambitions and your needs in life met with that situation, if that's what he wants to do, more power to him.
And his best friend is still there. Sami Zayn's still there.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd, we've always heard anyways that they have sort of intentionally linked their careers together, even pre-WWE. But yeah, I don't know. So the end of the show featured a moment where Seth Rollins, who had attempted to broker a deal between himself and Kevin Owens to sort of soften up Big E a little bit. If Seth Rollins helps Kevin Owens win, then Seth Rollins would, I guess, cash in his contract at some point when he gets that title. He would give that first opportunity to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, being a good guy now, sees Seth Rollins getting a cheap shot while the ref wasn't looking. Kevin Owens did see it. And as seemingly a little bit of apprehension about going for the pin, he goes for the pin, and Big E's able to roll him into a crucifix pin for the win, and is like, "Hey, what's going on here? Number one, they have history. I know what you're all about.
Yeah.
Number two, you went for that pin. You saw what happened. Are you in cahoots?" And Kevin Owens did his best to say, "Hey, I'm a better person now.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy anymore." I loved it. Big E dropped him with the big ending anyways and said, "I know who you are." Is this going to facilitate, perhaps for the last couple months of his time in WWE, if that's the case, Kevin Owens' heel turn?
It could. I mean, Kevin Owens, and I wonder if it's largely on his own, by his own doing, has had this ongoing story where he freely admits in the past he was an a-hole, not a good person. And he's kind of doing his redemption story now, where he's trying to convince other people that he's not that same person. He has changed, and he's trying to make amends for the misdeeds of his past. And this is kind of one of the major ones that he hasn't atoned for yet, was turning on the New Day.
Yeah.
I know he had the feud with Kofi, but I mean, the reason he linked up with the New Day is because Big E got hurt, and Big E himself couldn't be there to take it to Kevin Owens. Now he finally gets his opportunity. I guess they could do the heel turn with Kevin Owens, but I kind of like the idea of him fighting this battle against Big E, and maybe literally through the process of their matches, Big E comes to realize, okay, this is the same Kevin Owens who turned on my best friends. He's a different man now. That could be a more interesting story than just, "Oh, you don't believe me, Big E, I'm going to turn heel now so we can feud." That being said, I would expect the WWE to go with the latter of Kevin Owens turning heel, because it's the simpler, more basic story. We know about Bruce Pritchard. He likes very basic good versus evil storylines.
Yeah.
But I think that, having Kevin Owens feuding with Big E to get Big E, to try to get to Big E to understand, I'm not that guy anymore. I think that could be interesting.
I think you're right. And I think there could also be some interesting, the stuff that, one thing that really stood out was what Seth Rollins had told Kevin Owens. He says, "Yeah, just keep fighting. How has that worked out for you? I'll just keep on winning and you can keep on doing whatever you want." That combined with Big E saying, "Hey, I know what your true nature is." Maybe he's going to be like, "Yeah, that is my true nature, and I was a winner back when I was doing that stuff."
Yeah.
So that's going to, at least there would be some motivation there for him. And I do have trust in Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has always been able to effectively relate who his character is and what those motivations are, even if the creative behind him has been doing him a disservice. I always get the feeling that he always takes that extra step to say, "This is who I am and why this is who I am," as opposed to, like in the matter of Damian Priest. Now he's a guy who's got "Oh, this guy's always been here. We've seen you for 2 years on TV now, and it's never come up. I know. And now T-Bar throws a chair at you, and this is going to be in every match. This is now part of your persona." That's not good character motivation there, because it doesn't ring true. At least Kevin Owens has always tried to make it ring true, which is something I've always loved about his character.
Yeah, same. And hopefully he'll be able to have enough sway, even in the kind of the waning days of his deal, that if he finds something to not be that interesting, that he can make it a bit more interesting, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Daniel Bryan was always the same way, and that's why I honestly think that along with, he went out. Now there's, the Fightful Select is saying that the door is always open for Daniel Bryan, largely. Well, number one, he's Daniel Bryan, but also he went out in a way that had some people even questioning if he was going to leave because he was going over the top, saying, "Hey, let's make sure Roman Reigns looks good on my way out." He had that whole thank you to the WWE thing on the way out. I get the feeling it'd be the same kind of thing with Kevin Owens. He seems like a guy. He seems like a very down to earth guy, probably very, very professional.
Yeah,
and yeah, I could see him going all out, trying to make Big E look as good as possible. Agreed. If he is going to leave the company.
Agreed. All right, you want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's dive into this. As you mentioned, prior to this awesome match that kicked off the show, we had 2 interviews. First up, Bianca Belair. Sort of, I don't want to call it boilerplate, but it's getting there. She says, she sees her mistakes as opportunities to make her stronger. She has no regrets about anything that happened at SummerSlam. Becky came back. She was like, oh, cool, I like Becky. And then 26 seconds later, all was gone, and I was sitting there wondering what the heck just happened. She says, Becky tries to downplay my accomplishments, but I'm used to people doing that. I always show up and show out, but there's no moment bigger for me than a match for the Raw Women's Championship. And then Becky had an interview as well. Said, she said the day after I gave birth, she was asked about, hey, while you were pregnant, Bianca was earning her way to the top. And Becky says, well, yeah, because I wasn't here. I would have put a stop to that. So the day after I gave birth, I was already doing push-ups. People don't realize what it is to be me, balancing this new life of mine and being champion. That's why there's been a lack of appreciation for me. I even hear some boos. But this motivates me, and it'll motivate me to beat Bianca once again. And then just a killer 25-minute match. Last went through a couple different commercial breaks.
Yeah, 20-some minutes, and it was really good. It was really good. Never let up. At one point, Becky hits a manhandle slam, but Bianca's too close to the ropes. Bianca gets her foot on the bottom rope and then rolls out of the ring. Becky's looking for a sliding drop kick. Bianca catches her, hits the reverse powerbomb on the announce table. She gets Becky back in the ring, covers. Becky kicks out. Bianca did a great job of showing the sense of urgency she had. And it seemed like every time she thought she had the match won, there would be like a brief moment where she'd start to panic a little bit, but then she'd calm herself back down.
Yeah, right.
There was this constant push and pull within her where, all right, she'd think, this is it. It's not, oh, am I going to do? But then she, experience has started, is informing her now, like we saw with her match against Sasha at WrestleMania. Okay, this isn't working out. On to the next thing. Rather than stewing on it and being upset about, that move not finishing the match.
I really do wonder if that's something. I always get excited when somebody in the women's division works with one of the horsewomen because they always come out of it better. Like you can take this all the way, you can take this back years. They always come out of it better. And I love that Bianca is now getting to tell this story over the span of years where you can see it in matches, her learning that experience really paying off. You got to love that stuff.
Yeah, you do. So then Bianca hits a glam slam that gets her a 2. She goes up top, looks for a splash. Becky evades that. Bianca catches a kick from Becky, looking for a KOD, and she's trying to pull Becky away from the ropes, but Becky's holding on. And so they're kind of battling there for a bit. And then as Bianca pulls Becky away from the ropes, Becky grabs the top turnbuckle, yanks it off, so the corner is exposed. So then Becky escapes the KOD, pushes Bianca into the exposed turnbuckle, and then rolls her up with a handful of tights to get the 3 count.
Yeah, really good stuff. After that, we had a Rey Mysterio with Dom interview. He's got a match with Austin Theory coming up, and he talks about Theory being talented but disrespectful. He's like, but I love how my son stepped to him last week. And then Theory comes in and says, you know what, Ray, you're my hero. You were my hero, but it sucks. I didn't get to take a selfie with you last week, but I will tonight after I beat you like I beat your son last week. And Ray says, lots of people try to make their name beating me, but those names have faded away while the name Mysterio shines strong.
Yep. And then we had that match next, Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory.
Ray and Dom just need to stay away from each other.
They really do.
They have the worst timing and chemistry.
No chemistry.
These refs will be staring straight at a possible disqualification. I watched this twice. That ref was not watching when Dom slapped Austin Theory there at the end of this match. So like Theory goes to the outside, he gives Dom some guff, and he ends up getting back in, gets set up for a 619. Ray has him basically, beat.
He has the match won. He hits the 619, the frog splash, and he covers Theory. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the ref is like, "Hey, wait, you punched him. That's a DQ." It's like, you weren't even paying attention, and it didn't alter anything anyway.
Not that much, no.
That was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It was, they got to further these issues between Ray and Dom, I guess.
Yeah, they just need a man. Can I really liked right before the draft where that was headed with Sami Zayn, threatening to take Dom under his wing, and then
I know they get drafted to Raw now. It's just spinning wheels. They're not on the same page. Can they coexist? Essentially,
you know what would be cool if Austin Theory took Dom under his wing. That'd be rad.
That he was the John Gargano for Dom.
He's like, hey, we're the same age, and look at me and look at you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Anyway, so a ref calls the DQ. Says, Dom, you punched Austin Theory. I didn't think he saw it though. After that, we had a Seth Rollins promo. And he's hyping up that he won the ladder match last week. He's got an opportunity for WWE title now with that contract. Says it feels good. This is his show. He was drafted here to be the face of Monday nights. The only thing missing is WWE title around his waist, but this contract basically guarantees I'll be next champion. Big E comes out. Says, last week I came to congratulate you for winning the ladder match, but instead of shaking my hand like a normal man, you laughed in my face. And then he left like he was the Pink Panther or something. Says it bothered him a little bit, so he spoke to his aunt, and she said, don't let that man bother you. There's something wrong with his mind. So Seth says, oh, I remember it differently. I came out and challenged you for a title match, and then you told me that I had to earn it. And then after Seth won the contract, Seth came to shake his hand, and Big E didn't accept it. Says, Big E, you're a fine champion with quality wins over Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. And, I'm a fan of a good Money in the Bank cash-in. I hate to be the one who breaks it to you, but you're not on my level. No disrespect. Sooner or later, they'll fight for the title, and Seth will win. He says, Big E doesn't want the responsibility of being champ anyways. He says, I'll beat you for the title, and you can go back to being a joke with your friends. He calls Xavier Woods a joke. He says, Kofi Mania turned into a joke.
Oh, that one rubbed Big E the wrong way, man. He says, I'll be damned if I'm going to stand here and let you disrespect Kofi Mania. It was one of the biggest moments in WWE history. He said, but what I will do, why don't we do this, Seth? How about Big E versus Seth for the WWE title tonight? Crowd starts going crazy. Rollins like, whoa, slow it down, back it up. He's like, think about this. You people don't actually want to see that. Come on, crowd cheers for it. He says, of course you do. Y'all know I'm not 100% after that ladder match last week and Hell in a Cell before that. I'm not falling for that. We're going to do it on my terms. So Kevin Owens comes out and he says, I hear Seth calling himself the face of Raw. You're delusional. I've heard Bianca say tonight that she's the face of Raw. Becky said the same thing. But what about my face? I want to be considered my face should be considered the face of Raw. He says, last week, Seth, you won the number one contender match, but sorry to burst your bubble. People weren't talking about you. They were talking about me and my performance. Every time I step between these ropes, I leave everything I have in that ring. Hasn't worked out for me in a while, but when I tell people to keep fighting, I mean it for myself. Every time I fall, I'll dust myself off and show up and keep fighting. He says, whether it's for 3 more months, or 3 more years, it doesn't matter. Every time I will give the WWE universe something to remember. He says, Seth, if you're not going to fight, get out because me and Big E can give these people something to remember. And Big E says there can only be one face of Raw. This isn't Mount Rushmore, Mount Rushmore, He says, you're on. And so people are going crazy. So it was really a match for the title of the face of Raw.
Yeah. After that, we had Zelina Vega and Carmella backstage. They were like complimenting each other on their crowns and their masks. Rhea and Nikki, A.S.H, step up to him. And Zelina asks Nikki, hey, where'd you get your mask from? And Nikki says, I made it to show people that they can be whoever they want to be. And then Vega says, oh, I admire that. And then her and Carmella walk away. Then she starts talking trash, says the mask is ugly. Nikki and Rhea catch up. Rhea says, I heard what you said, and I'm not going to let Zelina, your pettiness hurt Nikki's feelings. And then Vega says, well, is that a threat? Rhea says, maybe it is. And Carmella says, we're not going to be threatened by women who are beneath us. And Nikki says, well, if the tag champs are beneath you, you'll have no problem facing us tonight. And Zelina and Carmella accept that match happens next.
So their plan worked. Let's find 2 people so we can get a division going here, because there's no women's tag division. I love this too, because Zelina was using her British accent when she was being fake. And then when she kept it real, she's like, oh my God, look at that man. She like dropped the fake accent to talk shit. I thought that was pretty funny. I like that's a good use of the accent. So yeah, that match happened next. Nikki, A.S.H, and Rhea Ripley versus Queen Zelina Vega and Carmella. And the bad guys got the win here. Of course, this was, I don't know if it was technically, they called it a championship.
Doesn't really matter. It was in spirit.
Yeah.
Now Zelina and Carmella may or may not get a title shot. Maybe they earn themselves an official championship contender match.
Yes,
I don't
that's
know.
Exactly right.
It's so frustrating. Exactly right. Hey, we want to motivate a feud between champions and contenders. Well, how do we do that? Let's have the contenders beat the champions in a non-title match and then not learn about title opportunity. I'm so tired of it. It's so formulaic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like have like the ladder match.
Kyle says they did call it that. They called it a championship contender match. I didn't notice it on the graphic or not. Maybe a commentary just called it that.
There should be other ways to find number 1 contenders for these titles other than just having championship contender matches. It's tiresome.
They're not even a real team. I mean, they probably will be now.
Well, I mean, at least Carmella and Zelina have had some sort of loose alliance for a few months.
So this could be the entirety plus Bianca of Team Raw.
Mm-hmm.
The entire thing needs to be, all the Survivor Series teams need to be, can they coexist teams?
Yeah.
I mean, that's generally what they are anyways.
Yeah, it is. But they're really going to lean into it this year.
Was it last year or the year before where Riddle, AJ was the captain and Riddle gave everybody names? It was last year?
I think it's 2 years before.
Boy, that was funny.
That was great.
That was so good.
That was great.
And to this day, he still calls AJ Skipper.
I know,
it's awesome.
So good. So after that, Zelina picks up the win. She hits Nikki with Code Red. After that, we get Big E backstage. Alpha Academy walk up to him. Chad Gable makes the case that he can help Big E. He says, you don't have what it takes to be the face of Raw. Not yet, but I can help you with that. And Big E says, well, if your plan is to make me into a walking thumb like you did with Otis, no thanks. And then Gable says, no, I just got my master's degree. I graduated valedictorian in my class, and look what I did to Otis. I made him a focused competitor, not an entertainer, and I could do the same for you, but now you'll just be a footnote. When Raw becomes Monday Night Rollins again, and then he asks Big E if he wants to see what he can do, watch him tonight versus Finn Balor, and he leaves. And then Otis steps up to Big E, and then he leaves too.
Shout out to Chad Gable. It's a hell of an accomplishment. Masters 4.0 valedictorian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That dude's got it all going for him. Except in this match here. Killer match, though. Just a really stellar match between Finn Balor and Gable. Finn gets the knees up on a moonsault attempt. Tries to go up for a coup de grace, but his legs are so busted, it's hard to do that. Gable goes up and counters with like a superplex. Finn rolls through, though, for like an inside cradle for the win over Gable. So really good stuff here.
Yeah, sound match. Good match. After that, we have Matt Riddle backstage. Dirty Dawgs walk up to him. Dolph says, hey, we've been looking for you. Riddle goes on about how much he loves dogs, asks if they have dog spirit animals. They are obviously confused and unimpressed. Rude says, enough. Dolph starts talking about their match against Street Profits tonight. Says, you and Orton will be on commentary. You need to pay attention. Last week was a fluke. They had already wrestled previously that night. And Rude says, now we have a week to recover. We're going to beat the Street Profits. And then Riddle and Orton, you can kiss those titles goodbye.
Yeah, and then we had that match, which was really fun. It was really good stuff. It was just the very end of it was thoroughly jarring. It was so confusing. So, like, the Profits basically have this one towards the finish. Ford hits like sort of a tope onto the Dirty Dawgs. That awesome,
it goes over the ring post.
Yeah, it's awesome. So he gets Dolph back in the ring trying to hit a splash. He starts to go up. Amos's music hits. Amos comes out. He's followed by a bunch of refs and producers trying to get him to back the fuck off. And so, meanwhile, as we're seeing that, Dolph, I think, hits a super kick on Ford and pins him, gets the win. So Dawkins comes down there to attack Amos for the distraction. Amos throws him aside. Ford tries a fun splash. Amos throws him aside, throws him into the barricade. Riddle and Orton, by the way, number one, that crowd was so into Riddle last night. Huge into Riddle. And I've heard that anecdotally, too, on Twitter, that in the arena, people just love Riddle. And so him and Randy were having a good time on commentary. And Riddle's like, all right, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go. And Randy's like, no, don't go over there. Don't go. He's like, I'm going to do it. Here, hold my stuff. He goes, Randy tries to stop him. Riddle goes over there. He gets his ass handed to him by Amos, too. And Randy Orton's over there. He's like, oh, he starts getting himself geeked out. He's like, oh, I'm going to do this. He takes off his hoodie. And the commentary's like, oh, he's going to go do it. He's going to go do it. And then we get a recap package of Damian Priest. And I was like, whoa, what the hell happened there? That didn't look like, technically speaking, a glitch. But like, I thought that my DVR skipped ahead or something. I missed this. So I rewound it. And then I was, there was nothing wrong with it.
That's how it was written in the show. Yeah. I mean, I saw people talking about it on Twitter before I started watching it. And we've seen this happen before where they'll tease a brawl, they'll go to commercial, we come back, and the ringside area has been cleared. I don't think they've done it where they've just continued the show. And by the time they show that brief recap package, they have a Damian Priest interview. And he has his match next with no commercial break in between.
Yeah, right.
Whatever happened ringside has been cleared. So we had this Priest interview. It wasn't long. He pretty much just explains why he has like a mean side in him now. He says that side's always been there. I try to keep that Damian Priest at bay because if I don't, someone gets hurt. He says, I had no problem with T-Bar until he threw a chair at my face. You want to throw hands? Cool. But if you disrespect me, that's when the dark side comes out. But tonight, hey, we're having a no DQ match. T-Bar will get very acquainted with the Damian in me.
Well, so that's the thing now. It's like the Hulk. It's like Banner and the Hulk or Jekyll and Hyde or whatever. I just it was like 2 years. We've been seeing this guy, and he's great. He's phenomenal. This match was awesome.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
This was so brutal. This was a ton of fun. We got that old school T-Bar Dijak wrestling going on with cool shit going on. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't necessarily care. It's just a tad on the lazy side. Like, they didn't really hint at it at all. They didn't really, and then the Damian and me, it's just a cheesy catch. It doesn't really make sense. I get Damian, the devil, Priest. Yeah. But it's like somebody just had this revelation. Hey, his name is Damian Priest. It's like a contradiction. It's it's contrapuntal. It's
the duality of man. Yeah.
And then you got the priest. Yeah. It's the bad guy and the good guy.
Maybe this is what he was always supposed to be doing, but then they got sidetracked with the Archer infamy thing, which made no sense anyways.
That didn't make any sense.
Didn't make any sense. Like, I always thought he was supposed to be a vampire. He wanted to live forever.
It's a vampire.
It's a vampire. He likes to party. He likes nighttime.
Vampire. It's like a Blade side quest villain.
Exactly.
He's like he goes to the club because I know there's a scene in Blade where he goes to a club.
Yeah, there is. So I don't mind them getting away from all that because it really didn't make much sense anyways. This is actually fitting with his name. In theory, I like the idea, but just to bring it up out of nowhere.
He was so casual about it. It's always been there. I just don't really like to bust it out all that often. But then somebody threw a chair at me. Like, what? In 2 years? That's been the most disrespectful thing anybody's done to you? They threw a chair at you?
Hard time believing that.
All right. Jonah says it's like the very first scene.
Yeah, I think it is the first scene.
Of the first movie?
I think so, yeah.
Did he go in the second movie? Could somebody tell me, did he go in both? I know there was a third one. Did he go in a club in 2 of the 3 movies? Anyways, this was great. It was so brutal. At one point, Priest gets caught in the ropes, and T-Bar just goes to town with his kendo stick on his midsection. Just destroys the kendo stick on Damian Priest on his midsection. Priest snaps, destroys a chair over T-Bar. He just annihilates him with chair shots. And then they had previously set up a table on the floor. Priest choke slams him from the apron through the table. And that table just explodes. It just turns to dust.
Definitely gimmick that table.
The hell out of this barely had any give. It just went blip.
Yep.
It was all give, rather. So Priest muscles T-Bar back into the ring, gets him up. The idea is he didn't need to give him this reckoning because he was just dead weight. He could have just pinned him. but he decided to give the reckoning to him anyways.
Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, they walk out to the ramp. Crews introduces himself and Aziz to Priest and says they have come to breathe new life into Raw. He tells Damian that they will be get acquainted soon enough, and he'll have the privilege. Damian will have the privilege of losing the U.S. title to him.
Yeah, I love Apollo. He gives everything he has into every time he has a promo. I hope this works out for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him as U.S. champion. After that, we had, waste of time. This stuff, man. So Morrison's backstage, one of the most talented dudes on the roster, has been for 20 years. Whenever he's in WWE, he's always one of the most talented guys. But he's doing the Zen thing. Reggie said maybe it's good for him. Maybe he gets to rest up his body a little bit. And then he'll have another killer run. I don't know. Anyways, he's back there. Reggie sees him. He's like, how's your search for your chi going? And he's close to it. And Reggie's like, oh, I don't know what that means, but congratulations. Then, of course, Truth attacks him. The rest of the 24 division comes in. He flips all over the place. He leaves, and then everybody blames everybody for not getting him. It's just a massive waste of time.
Yeah. Then we get a Becky Lynch interview. She was asked about, essentially cheating to win. She says, no, I just used whatever was available to me, even though I tore the house down tonight. Half the audience was booing me. And you know why? Because they're fickle. They're the same fickle people who were cheering me on my rise, and now they can't relate to me now because they don't know what it's like to be successful. There is nothing wrong with doing whatever it takes to stay champion. She proved tonight that Bianca is over her head while I, Becky, am in a league of my own. So it's time for Bianca to get to the back of the line and make way for somebody new to come in. In walks Liv Morgan. She steps up to Becky. Becky just leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Backstage, Seth Rollins comes up to Kevin Owens and says, hey, I want to make a deal. He says, I go out there tonight, help you get the W. When I get the title from Big E, you get the first shot. And Kevin Owens, for his very mocking, like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea. Wow, me? He says, I got to tell you. He says, you want to come out there and see in person why I should be the face of Raw? That's your business. But if you think for a second about trying to interject yourself and this stupid suit of yours into my business, then it becomes my business, and I don't think you'll like how I handle my business. Seth says, yeah, how does this keep fighting work out for you, man? You keep fighting, I'll keep winning. And I love that Seth Rollins, number one, his suit looked like the set of Match Game 76.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great.
And I love that schematically, like the color scheme was the same as the gear that Big E's been wearing. And I thought about it, I'm like, when Seth was feuding with Edge's colors are typically like black, white, and red. Mm-hmm. I seem to remember a lot of that scheme when and I wonder, I'd like to go back and see if there was some sort of rhyme or reason to that, because this was very, like, you look at the color scheme was exactly the same as Big E's, and I wonder if week to week if we're going to get maybe some, like, some New Day inspired color schemes on Seth Rollins, some teals, pinks, purples.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would. Then we had our main event, Big E versus Kevin Owens. Early on, they're kind of talking trash to each other, stating their case why they should be the face of Raw. At one point, Big E goes for a big ending. Owens counters with the Scorpion Death Drop, gets a 2. Shortly thereafter, Owens goes for Stunner. Big E escapes that. Owens then low bridges him out of the ring. Big E trips up Owens, misses an apron splash, and then Owens follows with a cannonball off the apron, sent on the floor. And then Seth Rollins comes down to ringside to take the rest of the match in. Down to the finish. Big E puts Kevin Owens on the top rope. Owens fights him off, goes for another swanton. He had hit one previously. Big E gets his knees up. Big E hits the apron spear to the floor. He's looking for a big ending. Owens escapes that, pushes Big E into the corner, and when Big E kind of rebounds back towards the ring, Owens is kind of running towards him, so they kind of knock heads. And the ref goes to check on Big E first, and then he goes checks on Kevin Owens. And while he's checking on Owens, Seth comes over, punches Big E, and then Kevin Owens sees Big E laid out and hesitates, and then goes over, covers. Big E kicks out right into a crucifix pin to get the win. Then afterwards, Big E is giving Kevin Owens all sorts of crap. It's like, you saw him hit me. Kevin Owens grabs the mic and says, no, I didn't see it. He's contrite. He's apologizing. He says, it's all your fault, Seth. And he says, I bet you think this is real funny. How about this? Let's have a match next week. And then again, Kevin Owens apologizes to Big E some more. Big E says, I don't care. And then Owens puts his hand on Big E's shoulder, tells him he's truly sorry, and that's when he hits him with a big ending. And then as Owens is selling it, Big E just says, I know who you are.
Mm-hmm,
I know who you are.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
It is good.
That was good stuff. So, yeah, be interesting to see how all that plays out. If we can please load up some questions here in the Twitch chat, because if I'm not mistaken, I forgot to put a Patreon through.
Oops.
So here's the first question from MF Steve here.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing a watch along for NXT 2.0 tonight? Me and the Enforcer are, I hope, over at MF Steve here, but I won't obligate you to do it unless you really want to. But I got like 30 subs over at that channel. I got to do something with it.
Oh, there you go. No, I'm probably going to hang out with the family tonight.
Okay, I figured as much. If you want to stop by at MF,
we'll see what happens.
You know the Zoom link. I'll keep it open.
Yeah, I know the deal. Nick Kyle says, why does WB have a really hard time at booking strong baby faces and new competitors to challenge for the titles held by a long reigning heel champ? The WWE does not know how to book interesting. Let me backtrack a bit. For the most part, WWE has a hard time booking good, interesting babyface characters, especially main eventers. Now, Bianca, she's doing great work. I think Drew McIntyre, for the most part, when he had the title, was doing great work. I think now Big E, since he's won the belt, has been doing really good work. But I think for the most part, over the last few years, they've had a hard time doing that.
Yeah,
consistently.
I just that old school philosophy of it's the money's in the chase. Like we've heard that a million times, and we've even talked about how fairly recently about how Stone Cold was always just more interesting when he was, and that's why back then they had such talent. They had such a good rotation of characters. I forget if it was 3 weeks or 3 months that he had that first title. And then it was off to Kane and the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And so then he had to chase them, and then they gave it to Mankind or The Rock or Triple H or whatever. And so he had to constantly be chasing that thing because it was just it's more interesting for them to be able to book that way. I'm sure there are plenty of interesting ways you can book a good guy champion.
Well, I think also too back in those days they did a decent job. Creative did of continually upping the odds against Stone Cold. Right. First it was Vince, and then it was Kane. Then it was Kane and Undertaker maybe, and then they all kind of aligned together, And then you had, by the time the corporate ministry came around, you had Triple H, Undertaker, and The Rock all in the same faction against Stone Cold. Those are pretty steep odds to overcome,
Yeah. And I feel like since I'm trying to remember Roman took that title off of him. I'm trying to remember because Seth was the authority guy, but that's he cashed in, and it was the whole Roman thing. It's been a while since they've had a real solid babyface champion with any sort of compelling story. I mean, I guess Becky was champion and she was a babyface, and yeah, they did a pretty good job with her. But yeah, they just need to. Because otherwise it's going to be the ratings are just going to sort of flounder even after football's done. And they're going to try. I mean, they might try a thing where they give it to Seth. They have Seth. I kind of, part of me thinks that Seth is going to take that title off Big E after Survivor Series at some point. Or maybe they'll do Bloodline versus New Day. They'll do the Roman versus Big E. And through shenanigans, of course, Roman wins. And then Seth comes out with that contract, and they basically treat the contract like Money in the Bank. I mean, they did that with the contract with NXT 2.0. So why wouldn't they do something like that on his terms? He, stomps Big E, gets the win and the title, and then it doesn't go back to Big E. It goes to Edge when he comes back. I could see them trying to do that because there isn't that one dominant face on the show. It wouldn't shock me if they maybe hot potatoed that a little bit.
Entirely possible. Well, while I'm thinking about it, you want to do a quick NXT preview for tonight? There's 3.
Yeah, what's going on tonight?
So Carmelo and Trick are going to be taking on Gargano and Loomis in a tag team bout. Von Wagner and Kyle O'Reilly will be taking on Legado del Fantasma.
Von Wagner.
And then Cameron Grimes and his plans on betting it all in Duke Hudson's poker room.
That might be entertaining. That might be entertaining. That might be entertaining.
Night by Night asks, which Raw superstar would you invite to join you in watching some reruns of the classic television show Dynasty?
Have you ever seen one episode of Dynasty? I was more of a Dallas guy back then.
I didn't really watch either of them because they weren't Knight Rider.
Well, to be fair, nothing really was Knight Rider.
I mean, I've seen more Dallas than Dynasty, probably, but
Isn't it crazy how Kit was like, he had like some form of sentience? That was really messed up when you think about it. And then do you remember the evil Knight Rider car? Mm-hmm. Had like the yellow thing, the light on it?
Yeah.
What was his name?
That I don't remember.
Carr. I think it was Karr.
Oh, wow.
It was Carr. Yeah, Night by Night has it. It was Carr. Remember when Knight Rider had turbo boost?
Yeah.
It was like it was like in the later seasons, I think. That was cool.
This is I'd have like second and third generation wrestlers because they're wrestling dynasties. Watch Dynasty.
Oh, that's good. Together. That's good. Orton McGillicuddy. Is he still with the company?
No, he's not.
What's he up
Braun
to?
Breaker.
Yeah, Braun Breaker. I want to watch TV. I want to work out. Get jet. Yeah, man. Yeah, Dynasty. I never watched a lick of Dynasty.
I've seen a little bit.
Yeah, I was a big fan of J.R. Ewing. Now I hate that type of person, but man, he was a good heel. White Brownie, he was a heel who made good points. If Bianca isn't the one to take title off Becky, who would you guys have take it off her? It has to. It just in the same way that Hangman is the guy to take it off Kenny Omega. At this point, it has to be Bianca.
All right, but it can't be. It can't be. It just can't be, Steve. Who's it going to be?
I'd keep the belt high profile and have it be Ronda Rousey. If it's somebody on the roster now, I guess it would be Liv Morgan. I guess people really like her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, but to keep that title prestigious, Ronda. That's what I would do.
It has to be Bianca, though. It has to be.
It's got to be Bianca.
It has to be. White Brownie, if you could take 2 tag teams from 2.0 and add both to SmackDown and Raw, who would that be? It'd be MSK. They're not champions anymore. And Grizzled Young Veterans.
Yeah. What about 2.0 teams? Like
actual 2.0 teams. Like 2.0, 2.0 teams.
Okay, like you got Von Wagner and you got Kyle O'Reilly. I would consider that a 2.0 team.
Yeah, I guess.
Because there's one 2.0 guy. I was formed in the 2.0 era.
Sure.
You got the Jensen and Briggs and Stratton.
Yeah.
You've got
Creed brothers. You got the Creeds.
You got the Creeds. And I guess in a way there might do Gacy and Harland. I guess it's those guys.
I guess it'd be the Creed brothers.
I'd go with Gacy and Harland. Let them tell that story on main roster. Oh, Carmelo and Trick.
Oh yeah,
those are the dudes. Oh, Kushida and Jiro.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Good. Enforcer says, is Logan Roy just a media mogul Vince McMahon? I imagine there's quite a few similarities.
Wait, what's the question?
Enforcer's asking, is Logan Roy just a media mogul Vince McMahon?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's similarities for sure. I like that Enforcer's all in on Succession now. It's such a great show.
Oh, it's awesome. Watching him get to experience this journey. Enforcer, are you at Bore on the Floor yet? That's the best. That's the Bore on the Floor. That's the best. I should do some, you know what I should do? Do some Succession bootleg merch. Get a shot of Kendall in his rap attire, and then do like an old school '90s rap album.
That'd be good.
Like with the money font stuff, like the gold. Yeah, that'd be good.
Oh, it forces up to episode 9 of season 1.
Ooh, bore on the floor. Frederick said Curtis Axel basically admitted he's just going on a prolonged vacation after his release to spend time with his family. That's awesome. Good for him. If you make all that money,
go enjoy
it. Go enjoy it. Absolutely. All right. Anyways, that's going to do it for us, I believe. How much time we're good on time?
We're good.
All right, cool. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.